Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the League of Europe YouTube channel for round number 6 of Season 7 on F1 2021. My name is Aidan Carter, otherwise known as Carmentis. I'll be taking you through proceedings as per usual in Division 3 on a Saturday evening. And joining me, as per usual, she's back after a week off. It is Jess once again, a bit of a sick Jess today, so everybody be kind to Jess, and hopefully the race isn't too stressful for Jess's voice. But Jess, apart from that, how are you doing this evening?
Well, apart from that, I'm doing good. I like commentating on Silverstone. It's been on the F1 calendar since the very beginning in 1950, set on an airfield, believe it or not. And Silverstone is just a great track to race. It has so many iconic corners as well, and it produces some great battles too. So it should be a lot of fun and a lot of drivers to keep an eye on tonight, because in particular Brent, who did very, very well last season in Division 3, got a 4th place, and some other drivers that we need to look at as well. Tote's back after missing last week, so I expect him to be back on form as well this week.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that as well. There's going to be a lot of people to look out for. Brent as well, on top of that, has got a qualifying ban for this evening. We know Brent to be one of the top qualifiers in this division, so that is going to be one thing to look out for this evening. The other driver with a quali ban this evening is Bunty, so both drivers will not be setting times in this session. Just going to run you through the championship standings before we get ready for qualifying here at the circuit of Silverstone. RJ, after his second win of the season, is back into the lead of the championship on 66 points. He has a 3-point lead over Rekurik. Tope still holds third despite missing last week's race. He is 10 points behind Rekurik and 13 off the championship lead. It is Luke in 4th position, who seems to finish 4th pretty much in every race and is 4th in the championship at the moment. Darius 5th, ahead of Brent in 6th. Cam K 7th, Passe 8th, Old School 9th, and Miami rounds off the top 10 after his first race as a full-time driver last time out in Monaco. So, yeah, RJ back on form. He's obviously picked up his first win since the first round of the season, and J. Cole obviously was moved up before the Monaco race, and with RJ's win and Rekurik in second, it's really put a new spark into this championship, hasn't it?
Yeah, it makes it more unpredictable, really, as well. And the fact that we don't know who's going to win each week is going to be quite interesting as well, because the drivers won't know who would do well in particular circuits. But some people are probably relieved to get Monaco out the way after last week. There were quite a few incidents last week. That's why RJ benefited from the race win, because he was one of the only drivers to not get involved in the incident. But RJ was actually, I spoke to RJ about his thoughts about the race. He likes the Silverstone track, he just doesn't like it on the game. So he is a bit less confident than he was last week in Monaco, but at least he got another race win under his belt as well. And Rekurik as well wants a clean race tonight and some points, but he doesn't feel too confident about this track, and RJ just wants to put some work in for tonight. But as a relief for the drivers, as it is for ourselves, it's currently a dry qualifying session. It may change come the race, but at least we can see a nice dry Silverstone, which is quite common actually, because last season we had, last season in real life, it was nice and hot and sunny. So it's replicating that, isn't it?
Yeah, it is replicating that. I'm just going to spoil everybody's evening here. It looks like we've got a full wet race on our hands. Yet again, Division 3 have been pretty unlucky with weather this season, haven't they? It's come and gone so far this season, and yet again, they're going to have some weather interference in this race, I think for the 3rd time this season in a race, if I'm not mistaken. So that's half the races seem to be weather affected. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of people waiting it out for a minute as they just sort out their setups for a potentially full wet race. And that throws a completely new, it throws a new dynamic into qualifying, doesn't it? We know qualifying at Silverstone tends to be very close at the best of times. It is now crucial to be at the front of the grid here in this session, isn't it? Because it is so difficult to overtake in the wet.
Yeah, it is as well. Now, I hope these drivers have put some practice in the wet, because they have been quite unlucky in terms of wet races like Portugal, for example, where it's kind of changeable conditions. But I don't think it's going to be changeable conditions here. We're going to see most people on the soft compound tyres for their runs. But for some people like J-Luke and Passe, I'm questioning a little bit why they're going on to they're not going on to means they're going on to soft. I'll go on to a tyre instead of best. There we go. J-Luke's on the mediums, Passe's on the soft. They don't really want to be touching the mediums around there for their few runs, because they have 3 runs to do it in, and they're not going to be using it in the race, touch wood. So it makes sense. Just get all your runs done on the soft tyres. I'm sure people have put in some practice anyway as well. I've already had 5 drivers out on the circuit, as I do agree. They are making sure that their wet setup is to perfection as well. Obviously, J. Cole, who was promoted to Division 2, did quite well in the wet. Another driver who was very close in the wet in the last wet race we had was Portugal with Recurric as well. He was so close to be getting that race win, and he's probably quite relieved that it's going to be a wet race for him as well. But he's wanting a little bit more luck on this side for him this race as well, so watch out for him. And obviously, we got a few qualifying bans. They're just probably disappointed that it's correct races come when they've got a qualifying ban, but they shouldn't be involved in incidents, so there we go. But we're seeing Chill on the bar reserve drivers. He's just started his lap as he heads towards Brooklands. We'll see how he does as he makes his way towards Woodcote now as well. And he's wearing a nice helmet in tribute to the conflict that's happening at the moment with Ukraine and Russia, so don't be surprised to see a few drivers wearing a similar style of helmet tonight, but it's a nice tribute to see.
Yeah, it is a really nice tribute to see, like you say. So we're going to keep riding with Chill for the rest of his lap as he heads up to the famous Maggots and Beckett's complex in this session. You can already tell the car's a little bit understeerier for that Mercedes. He's not looked quite hooked up on this lap. He just touches the grass coming through Chapel. So 103.6 by the end of the second sector. We're looking for around a 2.9, 2.8 by the end of the second sector, maybe for pole position. So Chill not quite on the money at the moment, but we've still got plenty of time in this session. He will be the first person to get a time on the board. Still a lot of people sat in the pit lane. We've got 6 cars still in the pits at the moment, so a lot of drivers waiting for their runs, and Chill having a lot of understeer through the first part of the club corner, and it's a 27.6 first time on the board. That will not be anywhere near pole position. Expect a lot faster times than that. More people coming to the end of their runs now. Recurric is on a run. He's invalidated his time though, interestingly, so Recurric's first run in this session is null and void at the moment. RJ's just started a run, and I think Luke is just coming up to start a run. Luke, one of the favourites here this evening. He's been consistent so far this season. He's picked up one podium. He's picked up a couple of fourth place finishes as well. And he's known to be very fast around Silverstone, so he could be one to look out for this evening. Darry, of course, another one as well. Picked up another podium last time out when he could have potentially won that race after a contact with Recurric. Recurric's teammate YHY is on a lap, but he's also not looking too fast in the middle part of the lap. A 3.7 by the end of the second sector. Passe's gone across the line and is the first person into the 26. Is 7/10 faster than Chill at the top of the timesheets. That's not really a surprise. We're expecting times, probably even with a modified setup, to be in around the mid 26s, you would say.
Yeah, I have to agree as well. So Passe's lap time already at the start of qualifying is a good benchmark for all the drivers to follow as well, but we are going to be seeing majority of people in the 127 to start with at the moment, as we're seeing RJ heading past Vel and into Club now to finish his lap. He wants to replicate what he did in Monaco, but again, he's not too confident. Up to the line, he's in second place at the moment, just 3 or 4 attempts shy of Passe in P1. We've got an AlphaTauri and a Red Bull coming towards the line very soon, trying to see which AlphaTauri it is. Mats. He comes up to the line. We'll see if he improves on his finish from last week. P2 for him. That is a solid job from the AlphaTauri driver, a man who obviously was in Division 4 in pre-season but got promoted to Division 3 after his impressive Division 4 pace in pre-season. But it doesn't look like he's been getting podiums since then, and he wants to particularly get one here today as well. And in particular, some drivers want to do well for their home teams. I think half the grid has a factory based in the UK, so apart from, I think, AlphaTauri, Haas, Haas, I can't remember if Haas has a studio in the UK anyway, but they want to do well for their team. But also some drivers have a home race here as well, and you all want to win at home races, but everyone wants to win at Silverstone. I think J-Luke has not set a lap time yet. I believe he has invalidated. Darry has invalidated, like you said as well. Let's see what Tope does as well. He's got a little bit of a tow potentially from Miami coming up now, because I think Miami is on the lap as well. Hopefully they won't get in each other's way at the moment. Surprised he hasn't set one yet, because he's usually the benchmark at the moment. A little bit wide into Cox, which has cost him a lot of time there as he now heads towards the famous Maggots and Beckett's complex before heading towards Chapel very, very soon. So easy to get it wrong, isn't it, around here? A few people could just spin off and that could ruin your lap completely. So you've got to nail your turns very, very well. Sector 2 looking decent so far. Not the fastest out of anyone. Passe still the fastest sector 2 out of most of the drivers so far. As he's running out of fuel, so he's probably going to be on low fuel mode for his in-lap, but he comes towards the final few corners now. So does Miami. So Miami will set the first lap for him, 1:27.1. Tope only goes 8 fastest though with a 1:27.3.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of drivers are running compromised setups because everybody seems to be off the pace at the moment, don't they? And the problem with Tope's mistake in Cups, that any other corner that would be fairly innocuous, but that corner is so fast, and you need the momentum through Cops to carry into Maggots and Beckett's that it affects you for the next 4 or 5 corners on the lap. So, yeah, Tope, a little mistake there, costing him big time. Marty's on a lap now in the Alpine. Both Bunty and Brent have retired from the session. They are the 2 drivers with qualifying bans this evening, so they will start at the back of the field. Only 18 drivers here this evening as well, so not a full grid, unfortunately, tonight, but that will be some blessing, at least, to some of these drivers. Passe then still fastest, but remember, back to Portimao, Passe was really struggling in the wet conditions, had no pace whatsoever, so that could be very interesting if Passe's on pole, starting at the front of the field. We'll wait and see how that one turns out. Marty then through the final few corners of the lap, through the club chicane, and through the final part of club to cross the line. Marty crosses the line, goes P2 on a 27 flat onto the front row for the Alpine. His Alpine teammate Rex is just behind him. Rex only manages 10th on the grid. It's still very close, actually, if you think about it. From 2nd down to 10th, it's still just under 0.3 of a second. It's just the best part of half a second close to a second off where we maybe expected these times to be. Drivers not really feeling that confident at the moment around this track. Rekurik in the first sector, 27.6, is quite a way off the best that we've seen so far.
Yeah, it is. I wonder what his sector 2 time will be as he heads towards this hanging straight in towards Stowe Corner. And I think he's going to be looking very impressive for pole position. Now, he's got a wet setup. He's looked very good in the wet before. But we look good in the wet here as well. Only one way to find out. And sometimes you get pole in the dry, but you do absolutely rubbish in the wet. Sometimes you don't get pole in the dry and do very well in the wet. Rekurik's trying to improve that, but he only goes 8 fastest, but just a few tenths behind P1. That's how close it is at the moment. We got Passe on the lap right now, our calm pole sitter, past Farm and into Arena now, and they're heading towards the Wellington Straight. Sector 1 times we'll expect to be quite close between Passe and everyone else throughout the field. I'm sure he's got a few more tenths to find compared to everyone else as well, so he could probably go even faster. A few 100ths slower than his previous best. So his Sector 1 is not looking too tidy at the moment, but usually their second laps are not the best, and they all got to leave it to the final runs. But Passe is probably not too worried at the moment. He's on pole position, but there's still people that really want to improve, including this man in the Mercedes, Chill, as he heads towards Vale. A little bit of a squirm. He comes through the final corner. Can he get pole from Passe? No, he can't. Only 3rd fastest. And a few 100ths slower than Marty in P2. Just look at the gap between P2 all the way down to P4, 5. It's separated by less than 100th of a second.
Yeah, it's incredibly close, isn't it, between those 4 drivers at the moment. Really, really close times. Chill as well. That with a slight mistake in the exit of club there, so there's still more time in that Mercedes lap. Passe's invalidated through Stowe. He was near a 10th up by the end of the lap, but has invalidated by running wide. That's one thing to note as well. We are got track limits to look at this evening. Got track limits at Cops, Stowe, and the final corner of club. So look out for that this evening. Any drivers running wide could get penalised. Passe seems to be going again on the same set of tyres, but of course that won't make any difference in the race because it's a wet start, so they can get away with doing that if they can find the pace. Luke hasn't improved in the first sector. Matt's coming up to the end of the first sector split, has found a 10.5 in the first sector, so Matt's has got a good first sector under his belt. We'll see what the AlphaTauri driver can do. Like you mentioned, not had the best of seasons so far. White's just improved up to P7 on a 27.1, so it is still incredibly close throughout the field. Only one driver at the moment in the 26s, but if you're just tuning in, that is likely because the majority of this field will be on wet setups. It's looking like a full wet start to this race. RJ across the line didn't improve on P9 for the time being, so not the best of sessions so far for the McLarens. We're still running with Matt's, but Matt's quite heavily offline there in the second part of Beckett's as he runs across the second sector split and has lost a bit of time in the middle part of the lap compared to his best. He's still up on his time, and this could put him back onto the front row. Old School crosses the line, goes P7. He goes 1,000th of a second faster than YHYY It is incredibly close at the moment. We know it's close at Silverstone, but this close is ridiculous. Matt's then coming up to the line. Luke just in front of him on the road will cross the line. Luke now goes to the top by 0.02 of a second. Matt crosses the line and goes third, also on a 26.9. The top three separated by 28 thousandths of a second, and the front two separated by 2 thousandths of a second. We keep saying it couldn't get any closer, and then it gets even closer. It's so close throughout the field at the moment. Only Cam K and J Luke really are the ones out of position at the moment. Cam K 2/10 off the back of Rex, and J Luke not with the time on the board at the moment. So throughout the field, only 4/10 covering the top 14.
I think that just shows that a lot of people after Monaco want to have better races, and they've been practicing. You can tell they've been practicing. Is this F1 esports or this is LOE? I think this is LOE, but imagine what this is the gap we see in F1 esports and the top tiers on PC in major leagues as well, which is very, very great to see. Has Tope now, he's going to try and look to see if he can get within about 2/10 of everybody else. I'm just seeing old school YHYY's time. They set exactly the same time as well, which I have to say is quite incredible. I just saw someone else improve on their time as well, up into P4, which makes things even more closer. Only 1,000 of a second separate between first and second, which is absolutely crazy. So I wonder what Luke did, which Passe didn't do. Probably maybe a lift through Copse Corner potentially. I don't know. We don't know what the drivers did to gain extra thousand as well. Luke's found even more time, 1:26.7. He is on a roll right now. We'll see if Tope can match that and get to the 1:26, and he can with a 1:26.665. Puts him on pole by 8/100ths of a second. I knew he had some form. We just had to wait for it, didn't it?
Yeah, we just had to wait for it, like you said. I was about to say Tope looked like he was about to blow everybody out of the water, but Luke has put in a solid time as well on his second lap on that set of tyres. So those two are now starting to lead the way at the front. Tope, yet again, strong in qualifying. Miami is on a good lap at the moment as well in the other Aston Martin. He comes around the final corner, puts it into third position, 11 thousandths behind his teammate. But they're now getting towards the mid-26s where we expected pole position to be. We're still yet to see the best from the likes of Passe and Mats. Their times were set on their first runs. They've not improved on their second runs in qualifying so far. Rex is on a lap in the Alpine, but he's invalidated and is diving into the pit lane. So no time on the board. And J Luke has just spun through the final corner and crashed across the line. So what was a fairly solid lap on a set of mediums, a 27.7, he's just hit the wall and crashed out, and Tope has just spun and crashed at Copse on his in lap on the way into the pit lane. He's got no front wing and has gotten away with it, but a few drivers spinning out there, interestingly. J Luke across the line, and that is, well, 3 drivers out of the session now.
Yeah, because don't forget, if you just joined us, Bunty and Brent have qualifying bans, and J Luke won't be able to set a lap time on the sock compound, the tyres, which means he'll be starting lower down with a track in the wet around it. It has very low visibility. I had a full wet race on the last game, and it was absolutely awful, the spray as well. You can barely see. So ideally, you want to start as close to the front as you possibly can, as Miami will make his way to the pits. Interesting enough, Old School has gone for an out lap nice and early as well, wanting to set his lap very quickly, which strongly suggests he's probably going to do more than one lap on these tyres. Like you said earlier, Aiden, you can get away with that due to the fact you're not going to be using it in the race, so why not go out early, get a few laps in, and then if your first lap doesn't go to plan, then at least you've got less fuel to do your final run in, and you're more than likely going to be going faster. So maybe your first lap could be a banker lap, and the second lap could be your final push lap. Marty has gone out now as well, and interestingly to point out as well, these drivers got to get a move on, because the pit lane loss around here is pretty much a lot more compared to other circuits, when the only other circuit that's more than Silverstone is Singapore, I believe. So yes, that's going to be interesting in terms of strategy, but in terms of qualifying as well, if they're not out now, then they're probably not going to have time to have maybe 2 laps in it. Most people are probably going to have time to have 1 lap in, which is okay, and that's what we would expect in dry conditions, but it's going to be wet conditions in the race. So ideally 2 laps will be okay, just so you can have some confidence in your back pocket if you get 1 lap in, for example. So pretty much everyone is going out now, and loads of people have got to improve, in particular Rex and Cam, who's not within the 5/10 of everybody else. But I've got to say Rekurik's out of position as well. He wants to be up there as well if he wants to have a good race in the wet like he did in Portugal. I would say RJ's out of position. Pretty much quite a lot of people are out of position. Chill as well in 8th position. Let's see if he can find. He only needs to find a few tenths. Most people just need to find a few tenths. That's it. This is going to be a nail-biting end to this qualifying session. You don't want to miss this.
No, you don't. Old School then onto his lap now. Hasn't improved in the first sector and has got a little bit of traffic in front of him on the road and he's immediately backed off. But the good thing with that is that Mark has given himself enough time to go again. So Mark can get round to the line in time to start his final run in the session. Marty has started his final run in the session. RJ and Rekurik, our top 2 in the championship, are also on to their final runs in this qualifying session then. And of course, like you said, they are out of position at the moment with 3rd in the championship in Tope at the front and 4th in the championship, Luke, in 2nd. So those 2 on the forefront at the moment, but Rekurik has found nearly 2 tenths in the first sector alone. So already an improvement so far from the Haas driver in the first part of the lap. What can RJ do in the first sector on his run then through the first sector split? And he has found a 10.5 as well. So they're both improving at the moment on their times. Marty as well, I think. No, he's 7 thousandths down, but his first sector was pretty solid to begin with anyway. Rekurik will be then the first person to finish this qualifying session. One of the Aston Martins is leaving it very late to get to the line in time. I doubt they will get to the line in time, if I'm completely honest. There's only about 15 seconds left in this session and they've got people in front of them waiting to go for their final run. So it's going to be very, very close in time for Miami. I think will be the last person to cross the line and I don't think he's quite going to get there. Rekurik then through Stowe and then heading up to the Vale and Club Chicane. Time has run out now. Miami does cross the line just in time. So Miami gets across the line, ready to start his final run. Rekurik around the final corner and up to the line. He goes from 13th to 4th. So a good improvement from the Haas driver. Where does RJ fit into this? Has RJ found any more time? He's 0.3 of a second up by the middle sector split. So he could be going up to where Rekurik is on the grid as well. RJ around the final corner. He now takes 4th by 0.3 of a second. So the top 2 in this championship, very, very close. They're both out qualified though by YY. Rex crosses the line to go onto pole position by 0.4 of a second. Across the line next is Chill. He goes P6, somehow splitting RJ and YY. Tope's on the lap, has found some time in the first sector at the moment. We've got more people coming to the end of their runs. I think Darry's going to be the next to cross the line in the Williams. He's only 1,000th up on his time though. Darry's been strong in qualifying all season, but so far this evening doesn't look to be that strong around Silverstone in this qualifying session. Around the final corner comes the Williams car and up towards the line goes from 11th to 7th, so finds a bit more time. Next is Alt Maverick across the line in the Red Bull, only 12th on the grid for Alt Maverick. Passe will be next. Passe was the early pole sitter. He's back onto provisional pole with that final run. 26.608 jumps to the front of the field. Old School into 11th position. Luke, though, takes the top of the timesheets to the 26.5. What can Tope do around the final corner? It's a 26.5. Tope back to the top of the timesheets. Miami will be next. Camke crosses the line only 15th. Miami crosses, and I think that was P2. P2 on the grid then, so it's a P2 and 3 for the Astons. Passe almost took pole position, then it was Luke, and then it was Tope. And Tope and Luke look strong in qualifying all the way through. They remain at the front. Let's run you through, though, quickly that full grid order. Look how close it is at the front. Tope on pole by 0.08 of a second over Miami in second position. Luke only 32 thousandths off pole in third, and Passe less than a tenth off pole is fourth. Rex in fifth ahead of Mats in sixth, who got a good run in at the end as well. Watchaway in seventh, had a Chill eighth, Darry ninth. RJ and Rekurik were fourth at one point with 30 seconds to go. They ended up 10th and 11th ahead of Old School 12th, Maverick 13th, Marty, Camke, J Luke, the people that set times in the sessions, even though J Luke's time wasn't representative. Bunty and Brent with qualifying bans as we head into a full wet race. The top 15 in the end separated by just over half a second, and it almost couldn't be any closer at the front.
Yeah, Tope on pole position, continuing where he left off in the last race before Monaco, because he wasn't here in Monaco, so I expect him to do well here as well. But a good result from the Aston Martins in the qualifying session, in particular Luke as well. I think Luke is well overdue a race win this season, and I think he's probably potentially going to get one here at a wet Silverstone. Not as wet than I was expecting. I thought it was going to be even more wet, but at least it's just a little bit of a sprinkle of rain, but I do see that there's going to be full wet tyres in the garages right now, so it's not going to take too long to decide the strategy. Potentially they could zero stop this around here, because full wets could last the entire race according to the data that I have, but I don't think people would try that. But I think there was a few people that tried it this season already, almost did it, but did not pay off. So we'll see what they can do with 5 seconds left to go on the clock as well. And I think the majority of people are absolutely gutted that it's going to be wet, of course. And for Old School, I was speaking to him as well, it's all about the keeping in the DRS train. Well, there's not going to be any DRS, so you're going to get your overtakes nice and early, and if you just stay ahead, then it shouldn't be a problem with the spray and everything if it's going to stay like this. We got the tyres up, but we don't need to see what tyres they're on, because everyone's on the wet tyres. It's looking absolutely soaking out there right now. I wouldn't want to be in this weather, to be honest. I hope it's not like that in our races later on, but, you know, we'll have to wait and see. It's typical British weather. We'll see if the Aston Martins actually work together, because, don't forget, there's the constructors to think about as well. They're doing quite well, and the constructors actually leading the constructors on 126 points. Score points in every race. Their biggest point scoring haul was in Portugal, which was quite crazy in terms of weather. Can we see another race where Aston Martin performed very, very well? Because obviously Miami is replacing Jaco. Miami scored points in pretty much all the races he took part in, so could this be his big break, or will Luke be able to get the overtake? We'll find out very, very shortly. And will some weather goddesses who qualified quite low, will they be able to make their way high up in the grid towards the end of that race?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say as well. A lot of the drivers we've seen so far this season that have been good in the wet conditions. Obviously, J. Cole, one of those, he is no longer in the division. Rakurik and RJ have been strong in the wet so far this season. They're 10th and 11th. Brent was strong in the wet in Portimao. He's last on the grid. Bunty's been strong in the wet conditions. He's 17th on the grid. So there's a lot of wet weather drivers further down the field. In contrast, people that aren't so good in the wet conditions, maybe people like Passe and maybe Rex, are 4th and 5th on the grid. So they're a bit higher up. So it's almost like the grid is reversed in order of wet weather pace at the moment, it seems like. So we'll have to wait and see if anybody can get moves on. We know it is difficult to overtake in the wet, but a high-speed track like Silverstone, where you don't run a lot of downforce at the best of times, in wet conditions on full wet tyres, is going to be very, very difficult for these drivers. It's a high-speed circuit, so these drivers are going to have their hands full with these tyres. And because I'm quite sadistic in that nature, Jess, who are you predicting for this race win?
I don't know. This season's been so unpredictable. I'm going to say Luke's going to get his first win with a close second.
Yeah, I think I might have to agree with you on that one. Luke has looked strong all season long. He's been consistent. Could he get that break that could throw him into the championship battle at the moment? Third in the championship is on pole position. Our championship leader is 10th, and second in the championship is 11th on the grid. So they're pretty spread out championship-wise on this grid. Everybody is lining up then for the start of the race in full wet conditions. It's going to be a gingerly start from a lot of these drivers. Who can get the best run in towards turn one, and who can survive this first lap in these conditions? It's Tope and Miami on the front row. Lights are out very quickly, and away we go. And it looks like Miami maybe has had the better start of the front row. They're squirming all over the place. Miami is down the inside for turn number one. Luke as well. J-Luke's already out of the session before they get to turn one. Luke has had a brilliant start and a virtual safety car before we've even got to the Farm Village loop section. Tope manages to hold on to the lead. Miami got such a good launch off the line. Oh, it's a full safety car. Okay, well, Miami, as Mats has got a time penalty, Miami got such a good launch off the line, but because he got such a good launch off the line, he was stuck on the inside line for Abbey and had to back out of the throttle. I think Tope has just let Luke back through, but then Luke has had to let Tope back through under that, so that's a little bit messy there. But yeah, Miami got such a good launch off the line. He ended up down the inside of Abbey, and in the wet conditions, being on the inside isn't necessarily the best option because he had to back out the corner, and because of that, he's lost out to his teammate.
Yes, I saw a few cars in the background as well. Did not get the best of launches, and I think that was a Constantino effect, and that was probably why J-Luke was out of this race before it even begun. I'm just trying to see if anyone else has got front wing damage. Yes, it looks like Brent has got front wing damage, so probably Brent and J-Luke had a bit of a colliding together. I'm not entirely sure. Obviously, it was so hard to see with our cameras and the visibility, but Brent will have to go into the pits. Luckily, the safety car had a saving grace for him because he's last anyway. He can go for a fresh set of tyres and a fresh front wing, and he could go to the end of the race if he wanted to, which could be hard, but he can as well. And will some other people do exactly the same and go on to a fresh set of tyres until the end? But I'm sure most people will want track position with the way this is going as well, because if it's going to rain for the whole race, of course they want to try and do less stops than they possibly can. So I think the majority of people are going to stay out. There's no question about it. I'm just seeing who has, or we can't really tell who's gained the most, because literally the VSC happened pretty much before turn 1, pretty much through Abbey. So I think pretty much everyone stayed as they are. Darry has lost a bit of ground. I mean, I just saw someone going to the pits actually. YHYY is going into the pits. He's underfueled the car, interestingly enough, and he's probably glad that safety car's coming now. He's got a front wing change and I think fresh set of tyres as well. Yeah. I think we go now for a Mayo, who's coming in with Bunty and Brent too. So 3 cars already going into the pits to change their front wing. Everybody else managing to keep out of trouble in the first lap.
Yeah, everybody else keeping out of trouble. Like you say, Matt's with the time penalty at some point under that virtual safety car. So didn't quite see who that's with because no one else seems to have a penalty at the moment. So bizarre that only he's got a penalty and he's now racing Passe behind the safety car at the moment. Marty has spun coming out of Aintree and hit the wall before on the Wellington Straight. Okay, that is a very bizarre incident for Marty under the safety car. I don't know if he was weaving to get the tyres up to temperature or whether he just dropped the car avoiding somebody. Not quite sure, but Marty's out of the race. Another note on J-Luke as well. I thought J-Luke may have had some contact. By the sounds of it, J-Luke dropped the car on his own midway down the straight. He was wheel spinning so much that he just dropped the car in a straight line and ended up in the pit wall, which is a real shame for J-Luke that his race ended that quickly and Marty's race has ended in such a bizarre way. 2 people out of the race already then. So Marty and J-Luke have succumbed to the conditions. The conditions are torrential, to say the least. The rain is absolutely lashing down. I didn't realise YHY had a front wing change. I thought he was coming in for a set of intermediate tyres, and if he was, he'd be absolutely mad because it is absolutely chucking it down at the moment. It is so wet out on the track. Tope leads from Luca Miami at the moment under the safety car period. It looks like the safety car is going to stay out for another lap, which will only make these wet tyres last that much longer. And like you said, if the conditions stay like this, it should be relatively easy for these drivers to get to the end of the race without having to make a stop for tyres.
Yeah, indeed, and I think we're just seeing more people gonna probably potentially be a bit more cautious in the safety car restart coming up, because it's just hard to get to grips with the wet conditions in Silverstone. They got to warm their tyres in the wet. There's no question about it. It gets so cold at the start of the formation lap that if people are not weaving to get tyre temperature, that's what causes the wheel spin, and that's probably what caused J-Luke to retire from this race, because he didn't warm his tyres enough as well. So we'll keep an eye on the ones who are not weaving as much, because they may not get the best of start and get too much into their tyres, or maybe they warm their tyres enough, and that will probably mean they can have a good launch off the line very soon. Everyone has caught up to the safety car, so I think we will be having a safety car in this lap very shortly as well. So we'll start to see people's true prowess in the wet conditions, and I think we're gonna see Toe just run away with it at the moment. But Luke had a very good start and he was P3, so I wonder if he's gonna do the same into the safety car restart. But he's gonna hope that Tope's been caught napping, because I think that's the only way you can get into the lead of this race as well. You can see, I think Luke's getting look like he got more traction compared to his Aston Martin teammates. He seems to be more comfortable, but let's not forget, some drivers may have forgotten that it was a wet race, so they may not have wet setups. That's probably why some drivers may have had good times, or maybe they're just good in the dry or the wet, who knows. But we're about to get underway. It's hard to predict who we think is going to get off well in this restart. So we're down 2 drivers already. Brent and Bunty, obviously, they gain position regardless, because Marty and J-Luke have retired, so the only way to go is up for them as well. And McCurrick is still down in 11th position. So McCurrick, he's got to have an almighty start and replicate his Portugal pace, but we'll see what happens. It's starting to get a bit lighter in terms of visibility, so the rain may ease off, we don't know. Safety car still... Oh yeah, it is. Safety car's in this lap, so Tope, it's all down to him now.
Yeah, all up to Tote for the safety car restart. Does he back off and cool everybody's tyres down, or does he keep the pace up? It looks like he's backing off a little bit. We'll wait and see when he decides to go. Of course, the pit entry for the safety car is well before the Vale Club chicane, so he can go quite early if he wants to. The safety car's pretty much already out of the way. Then Tope is the controller at this restart. 70 miles an hour through Stowe Corner. Got to make sure that you're not speeding up and slowing down before the start of a restart here. Tope still keeping them nice and slow coming up to the Vale and Club chicane. Not gone yet. Is he going to go for the traction out of the chicane, or is he going to wait until after the chicane? I think he's just about to go now. Yes, he goes coming out of Club, and Luke's reacted fairly well, but everybody's so ginger on the throttle through the corner, and Luke's, oh my word, Luke having a massive snap out of the final corner and just keeping out of the pit wall. That was a big odd moment there from the Aston Martin. Everybody through turn one at the moment so far safe and sound. Mats is on the back of Passé thinking about a move into the village corner, but isn't quite close enough on the back of the Ferrari to go up into 5th position, so stays in 6th for the time being. Chill's right behind as well. Everybody is about ready to get going now at this restart. Bunty's the one trying to make a move down the inside of Aintree, but backs out of it before he gets to the corner, and that's going to put Brent on the back of him now. Brent's going to have a run down the Wellington straight. Can Brent get past his other qualifying bandmate in this race down the inside? It's going to be late on the brakes. He kind of sideswipes the Alfa Romeo into the corner. He hit the brakes and didn't really turn for the apex of the corner. Brent trying to get down the inside of Luffield now as they head up towards Copse Corner. Who can get the best traction on the exit of the corner? They're still side by side as they run through Woodcote Corner and up towards Copse. One of these two is going to have to back out. Surely it's Brent, because the Alfa Romeo's got the line on the inside, gets down the inside but understeers wide, and Brent does the switchback on the exit. It took a while, but Brent gets the move done on the exit of Copse. Nice move there. And in front, Alt Maverick is the first driver really struggling in that Red Bull. He is 1.1 seconds behind Rekurik and has got his teammates swarming all over the back. Rekurik's on the back of Old School now as well for a run up towards Stowe. He lost the pace to Old School on the first lap. Can he get it back up towards Stowe Corner around the outside? It's going to be a bold move from the Haas. Really late on the brakes and gets the move done. That is a lovely move from Rekurik, proving exactly why he is one of the strongest drivers in the field in the wet conditions. He'd sent it on the brakes around the outside of Stowe. That's difficult enough in the dry, but in the wet, he made that look far too easy.
That looked incredible from Rekurik at the moment, and he's looking like he's closing up to RJ already, so it shows that he means business here in Silverstone, and he wants to get past ASAP. There's standing water on the track as well, so that's going to be hard, and there's still spray to contend with too, but I think we're seeing Old School trying to fight back for Rekurik as well, so they head past Arena into the Wellington straight now, which is probably going to be easier said than done. But I was watching Tote's restart and it looked absolutely insane. He was just on it pretty much from the get-go, and he's already a second clear of Luke Luke's in second place and Tote's in first place, so he's doing very well. Don't forget, he had a drive-through penalty in Portugal when it was last had wet affected running, and he made it all the way to the podium again, I believe, as well. So he's another driver to keep an eye on in these wet conditions heading towards Copse Corner. It is getting lighter, the rain as well, so it may suggest that the rain could be drying up. I thought it was going to be a full wet race, but it may just be like this for the rest of the race. We're not entirely sure, but we're starting to see Luke doing quite well as well, pulling away from his teammate. But actually, I think Luke's got more traction compared to Tote right now. I wonder if Tote's struggling a little bit, or if Luke's just found the pace and warmed up his tyres. We don't know. As they head towards Stowe Corner, not quite close enough, but Passé could try for a move up the right-hand side into Stowe, which he does not. He backs out, but I think he's going to go for a brilliant attack, maybe into Vale. Nope, he does not do that either. So I have to say, fair play to Rex. He hasn't made hardly any mistakes so far, and he's into 4th place. He desperately needs some points for this later stage of the season, because there's some races where he has performed very well. And I wasn't expecting him to do well around this track in the wet, but he must have been practicing, I'm almost certain. Doing a great job so far, but I can't call it at the moment. We think Tote was going to dominate, but Luke's just found some more pace all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's starting to come back towards Tote. Miami seems to be struggling. Chill's struggling a little bit as well in 7th. One person who isn't struggling is Rekurik. He's passed the other McLaren of RJ and is up into 9th. Rekurik is flying and is immediately onto the back of Darry. I just said it was difficult to overtake in the wet. Rekurik is proving me wrong at the moment. He is making it look very easy. One thing to note, the light rain coming down. I wonder if this is causing some of these drivers just to overheat their full wet tyres at the moment. We're seeing drivers come and go in terms of pace. One is Tope, because Luke is now onto the back of the Williams. Miami's dropping pace at the moment, and Passe is all over the back of Rex. So I'm wondering if these drivers are just struggling with the temperatures on these wet tyres. Rekurik is thinking about a move into Copse on Dari, but isn't close enough. Can he get the run out of Copse up towards Maggots and Beckett? Not quite close enough, but Rekurik looks so much more confident in these conditions than anybody else. His teammate passed Kamke as well earlier on in the lap, so both Haskars looking strong in these wet conditions at the moment. Brent's on the back of Kamke as well, so it's kind of ebbing and flowing throughout the field at the moment as to who wants to be fast. Rekurik wants to be fast. He's going for another move at Stowe, possibly on Dari this time around. Can he go around the outside of the Williams driver? There's not really much of a gap there, and Rekurik decides not to go for the move. Stays in ninth for the time being, but gets a brilliant exit from the corner. Is he going to try and go around the outside? He backs out of it, and we've got our first pit stop. It's Rex into the pit lane. Surely that's for a set of intermediate tyres.
It looks more lighter than it was at the start of the race, and there's less standing water, so it's a no-brainer, I think, for Rex as well. Get the stop out of the way. We see McLaren getting ready to put their driver into the pit stop. That is Old School, who's also going on to the intermediate tyres, I believe. Yes, it is Inters for them. Could this be a almighty game changer for these two? Could they have pulled a strategy masterclass here? We'll have to wait and see, as I think we're starting to see people start to struggle more on these wets, because the tyres are heating up a lot because they're on the wrong tyres. There's hardly any standing water at the moment. So yeah, just go on to the intermediate tyres. And if you're RJ, that's good news that your teammate is pitted just now as well, because you don't have to worry about the double stack. You're going to lose so much more time staying out on the full wet than coming in with your teammate, I believe. So you just got to take the chance and send it and go into the pits, because otherwise you're going to see the likes of Rex and Old School be in front of you when you least expect it. So we just got to keep an eye on that, as we're starting to see Dari get all over the back of Chill into the Maggots and Beckett section. You don't really want to be going for a move there in the wet conditions, but they decided to stay behind for now. So we've got a yellow flag. That is Bunty, I believe, who's had a bit of a spin, but I think he's managed to get back, as I think we've seen Dari make the move on Chill. Yes, he does. He keeps the right-hand side. Rekurik as well is also in this fight. Well, it could be free of res heading towards Stowe corner. We'll keep an eye on Rekurik if he goes to try to get to the middle, but no, Dari and Chill almost made a bit of contact there. And I'm surprised not many people have gone into the pits. They're staying out on intermediate tyres. All the top 10 are staying out. YHYY staying out, Brent staying out, Cam staying out. So is Bunty as well. Well, Bunty will probably have to go to the pits anyway, because he is struggling for grip at the moment. But you can already see Rex has found more time on Bunty, and Rex is pitted. So surely that means people going to the pits. Rex, I think on the next lap, if we see fastest lap Inters, that will mean, the people on the wets made the wrong decision. But we'll find out. We'll see what it is for him. If Bunty's out of the race, yeah, he tied in the pits. Not really that surprising. But I'm just looking at Rex's set to 3. He set the 5 set to 3. But RJ and Chill is having a battle for the Wellington Straight into Brooklyn now as well. Can he go for a cheeky switchback? Does RJ as well? Almost clips Chill a little bit there as they head towards Luffield and Woodcote as well. Runs a bit wide as well, but RJ holds his line there. Can he get the move done in the most trickiest corners in at Silverstone? He does at the moment, but Chill wants to fight back heading towards Copse Corner. This is amazing battling between these two as well. And I have to say that was a brilliant move from RJ there, and he's ahead of Chill for now. But Chill wants to get past into Stowe Corner to be ahead in the pit stop, so that's going to be very, very key. And we're going to keep an eye on Luke as well, because he's also closing up on a 2-Tope. You can see Tope is still doing quite well, and the red light is for the Raiders, not for the ERS, for those of you that are a bit confused. Nobody's going into the pits for Inters. Miami is in as well. I think Chill's actually going to try and get a move. We're going to try and get a move on Chill, actually. Into Vale, into Club, but Chill's going to fight back as they head towards the final corner. A little bit of a love tap, but Rekurik says, thank you very much, that's an easy move for me. And Rekurik is up into P6 already in this race. Rekurik is looking feisty at the moment as he tried to get past RJ into turn 3 heading towards Arena. And wow, look at that send from Recurring. He was there on the brakes there, and he does it with ease as well. Can Chill get both of them? No, he does not. Recurring has gained 2 places in a couple of corners. That is insane from the Hassman. He's loving these wet conditions.
He is, and one thing to note there, Rex, 2.5 seconds faster than our race leader on that last lap. It's intermediate conditions. I am utterly baffled as to why the top 4 have not reacted to the pace of Rex at the moment. Rex is absolutely flying on his intermediate tyres. Old School is only half a second behind Miami, and Miami was 4th. Rex here is going to be in the net lead with this undercut in this pit stop. Rex has timed this pit stop to perfection, and none of the other leaders in this race reacted, interestingly. So they're all going to get undercut here big time by Rex, and they could all get undercut by Miami and Old School in this process by playing it too safe and staying out too long. Rekurik did fall behind Chill initially and RJ after a little bit of contact with the Mercedes and got past the pair of them, but their fighting has cost them big time as well. So I think Rex here could be into a pretty comfortable race lead as Taupe comes into the pits. Luke's in, Passe's in, Mats is in as well. All 4 are in. But I think as Taupe gets a speeding penalty, that is crucial for his race. If there's no other stops, that could be costly. The problem is, Rekurik gets a speeding penalty as well. Waichawai is staying out. He's biting the bullet. He's staying out on the wets. He's continuing on. The problem is, all 4 of our leaders are in. I think they've left it too late. Rex is going to be comfortably in the lead of this race, surely, as he comes through the Vale and Cub chicane. Well, why is in the lead? Because he's the only one that didn't pit, and of course he would have had to have double stacked behind his teammate. Out of the pit lane, Taupe, Luke and Passe come. Rex a 38.8. Look at the lead he's got. He's gone. He is miles ahead. The leader's left it too late to react. Rex is in the net lead.
There we go. We were all so shocked as to why everyone else didn't bite the
Miami
bullet
as well.
And go in with them. Miami is in second position. Taupe just about gets undercut by Miami, which is so annoying for the Williams driver. It shows how Taupe is really, really fast, and Old School's behind this as well. He's going to have warmer tyres compared to the likes of Taupe, so he's going to try and get the move. He's a little bit further behind, but Rex did this strategy beautifully. So did Miami. Old School almost, but to be fair, Taupe's a fast driver anyway, so to be fair, Taupe timed that pit stop almost to perfection. If it was a lap before, I think Taupe would have got the lead from Rex. But since it was a lap after, that was why Rex got the lead. Not gonna lie, even Miami's ahead of Taupe. That's how the undercut is so powerful. Just looking at the gap, 10 seconds to Waichawai and Rex, but 5 seconds between Rex and Miami, and another about 6 seconds to Rex and Taupe. So I think Waichawai has probably realised he made the wrong decision. Waichawai is staying out, my man. He's probably seeing something that we are not here. Is he going to dry up? Is he waiting until the dry period? But if he is, it may be too late. We don't know. Or is he going to get conditions going to get worse? So he wants to stay out on the wets. I don't know what to do at this point. It's a bit tough to call at the moment. But at the moment, Rex is played that very, very well. But if Waichawai has to pit again with everyone else staying out, he's in trouble.
Yeah, he is in trouble at the moment, isn't he? He's really taken a risk by staying out this song. He's lost 1.5 seconds to Rex in the first 3 corners of the lap. Those wets are dead. They are so slow compared to Rex's intermediate tyres. I am still completely baffled as to why no one reacted to Rex's pit stop. It wasn't like Rex was at the back of the field. Rex was running in 4th, so Rex was right up there with the leaders. He pitted 2 laps earlier than everybody else, and no one reacted to Rex's pit stop. That suggests to me that I don't think anybody's got engineers with them this evening, because they would have noted that Rex was running at about 3 or 4 seconds a lap faster than Camke, who was the last wet runner in that queue of cars. So, yeah, I'm still completely baffled as to why they didn't react to that to Rex's pit stop. Old School as well. Old School jumped from a net 12th to now a net podium position. He's done this already this season in Austria when he wasn't running at the front of the field, but by not getting penalties and being smart on strategy, he got a podium finish. He's been smart as well in these conditions. As soon as it's turned close to intermediate conditions, he's jumped in, and now Miami's got a penalty. So now Old School's running in a net 2nd from when he was running in 12th earlier on, with the penalties of the 2 cars in front. My word, Old School's the biggest gainer from this in terms of position, but Rex here, if he can keep this pace up, which he's doing very good at, Waichawai's pitted. This is a bizarre strategy from Waichawai. He is comfortably going to be last in this race with how slow he was on those laps. Rex, if he can take these tyres to the end of this race with this pace, which he's still got very good pace, Rex could be on for his first win in the League of Europe. Tope and Miami are faster, but they're not that much faster. They're only about 3 to 4 tenths faster, and they've both got penalties. So Rex here is sitting in a beautiful position in this race.
He is as well, and sometimes you get brilliant one-off performances. I think Rex's strategy definitely showing why he deserves every credit that he's got in this race so far, but things could all change. It's not over yet. We're not even halfway in this race yet. In about 1.5 laps time we'll be halfway into this. Still anything can happen between Rex and Miami, and even Tope as well. So we'll see what he could do. Rex, he's got a bit of ERS to use as well, so I don't blame him for using it on this back straight as well, because he wants to try and stay ahead of Miami as well. Tope's found a little bit more pace on Miami as we head towards Copse Corner. This is incredible stuff from Tope so far, but again, it's so hard to overtake, and just like he said, YHYY is now in last position, which is a bit of a shame, but he probably thought that it was going to dry up quickly enough. It's still not dry enough, and you just take your bed and lie in it, and that's what YHYY did, unfortunately. But he's been very unlucky with strategy. I think one of those was, I remember Portugal, where it started very dry. We thought he was on the right strategy, go on the dries. He led the race, and then suddenly it was raining again, and he had to go into the pits, and we were absolutely going for him. So yeah, the luck has just not gone his side in these type of races.
Yeah, it's just not played for him so far, has it, for YHYY, down in 15th place and out of the points. One thing to note on these intermediate tyres is the people that were fast on the wets now don't seem to be fast on these tyres. Brent, another fastest lap. Brent from the back of the field is now 8th with an earlier pit stop in those intermediate conditions as well. So from a quali ban, Brent is recovering very well at the moment in 8th place. He's looking at the back of Darry for 7th position in the AlphaTauri. So he is now the lead AlphaTauri. Mats was running in a net P5 in this race earlier on. He's now down in 11th, having to serve that 5-second penalty, of course, for in his pit stop. So yeah, Brent has done a good job at recovering so far in this race. But like I was saying, those that were the fast on the full wets now don't seem to be that fast on the intermediate tyres. Rekurik is off the back of this battle between Brent and Darry. RJ is really struggling in 10th place. He is 3 seconds now off the back of Rekurik and has got Mats and Chill coming towards him at this point in the race. And the two Aston Martins here are holding drivers up, you've got to say. Miami's holding Tope up. Tope can stick to the back of that Aston Martin very well, but can't find a way through. Old School's running in kind of no man's land at the moment in 4th, and Lucas got Passe, Darry and Brent all very close company behind. So all of a sudden it seems to have switched around, and those that were fast on the full wets now don't have the confidence on the intermediates.
Yeah, it's the same thing that I have as well usually on this game. I'm very, very good in the full wets, but in the inters I struggle a little bit more as well. So it may be down to the people having a full wet setup rather than a compromised balance setup where it can take intermediate tyres as well, potentially, which is why they're losing so much pace. And, you know, that some people are losing ground, but we're starting to see Old School doing well on the intermediate conditions as well. But he's got Luke for company as well, and who knows what could happen with the likes of Luke and Passe trying to catch up as much as they can. Passe, I thought, was going to struggle a little bit there. He's not doing too bad. I questioned on whether he had a dry setup with the laps that he did in qualifying, but I'm sure he means that he's got a little bit of a compromised setup as well, potentially as well, but we'll have to wait and see. We're halfway into this race now. Rex is leading from Miami in 2nd, from Tope in 3rd. Old School is in 4th position. No moves have been made at the moment, unless you're Brent. Brent has timed his pit stop very, very well as well. Don't forget, he started at the back of the grid, and he's in 8th. Yellow flag, that's one of the Red Bulls.
Maverick,
that is Maverick that's had a bit of a moment. I think it's turn 3, I think it was. Yeah, it is turn 3 and 4 that he's lost the car, so he's now down into last place. So YHYY has gained another position in the process, as Tope, somehow he's found a bit more traction than Miami this lap.
Yeah, he's starting to up the pace a bit more now as Tope, isn't he? Miami's falling back now from Rex, interestingly. Is RJ the next driver with a time penalty in this race? So still not going our championship leader's way. Remember, our championship leader is RJ. He's 10th. Rekurik is 9th, but Rekurik wouldn't take the championship lead. Tope could take the championship lead, but he's got a time penalty to his name, which would drop him behind Old School, Luke, Passe, and possibly Darry at this point in the race as well. So at the moment, it seems like nobody really wants the championship lead going into Jeddah because they're all not performing at their best at the moment. Rex, what a lap from Rex. A 37 dead. That is faster than we've seen so far from anybody else. Rikurik was the only one close to that on that previous lap with a 0.1, but Rikurik is now onto the back of a train of cars. Pace's slightly fallen off the back of Luke, but is not under any immediate threat from Dari at the moment. So I think they're just trying to give themselves some space and air to breathe in this race, so that they're not burning out their intermediate tyres. It's now a question of whether the intermediate tyres can get to the end of the race or whether it dries up before this race finishes. We don't know. We don't know what the weather's going to look like by the very end. It'd be nice if it dries up, because that would throw another spanner into the works and make another strategy call needed in this race. But if you're Rex, you want it to stay like this, because at the moment Rex is comfortably in the lead of this race with a strategy call that has played perfectly for him. Old School as well, that pitted on the same lap, is doing a brilliant job in 4th position, having running in 11th place earlier on, pitted on the same lap as Rex and has gained 6 places in the process. So yeah, brilliant strategy call from those two. It's settling down a little bit in the race now, as it usually does in intermediate conditions. We're not struggling as much for grip in the intermediates as we were in the full wets, and it's still pretty difficult to overtake in these conditions unless the driver in front is making mistakes. So drivers are just starting to settle down. The only one that seemingly isn't is Dari, as Maverick has crashed out of Luffield. Is that a safety car?
Yes.
Yes, it is. That is a full safety car. I doubt we're going to see people into the pits for a fresh set of intermediates, because we know the tyre wear is not big here, but what that does is close the pack right up again. So that puts a bit more pressure on Rex. The good thing for Rex, though, is that both the drivers immediately behind him on track have penalties, so he's not really under any immediate threat.
He is not as well. Rex hasn't done many restarts in LOE history, so it's a true test for him. I would be absolutely nervous if I was in his shoes at the moment. So he's got to perform very well as well and see what he could do under pressure. Don't forget, Rex's best result was a P5 in France, and that was where as well. All the others, he either scored 1 point, no points, or DNF'd. He DNF'd in the last race in Monaco, and he DNF'd in Portugal as well. He hasn't been that consistent this season, Rex, but he's got to show that he's fighting for a place in the league. He's 13th at the moment in the standings, so not too bad. He's carrying on 11 points. The winner gets 25 points, so that would jump him so many positions in the standings right now if it was to finish this way as well. Miami and Tote were probably gutted that the safety car has come out, because they've got penalties. Same with Rikurik, RJ, Chill and Cam. Everybody else is probably relieved, because they're going to gain a lot as a result. Old School is a net P2. Luke is a net P3.
Yeah. I don't know what to say for this strategy call. There's not really much else to talk about at the moment. I'm just completely baffled that no one followed Rex and Old School into the pit lane on their laps. I mean, we could see that the wet weather the rain was lighter and the standing water was going. Drivers must have known that the intermediate conditions were coming. And from historic races, we know that you need to get off the wets as quickly as you feasibly can, because the second it transfers into somewhat intermediate conditions, the Inters are a faster tyre. There's more rubber on the track, the wets are more susceptible to overheating, so the quicker you can get onto intermediate tyres, the better. Rex and Old School were the only ones that did that, and then on the next lap, not a single driver pitted, which was very, very bizarre. So, yeah. Brilliant strategy call from Rex and Old School, caught everybody else snapping, and they're now in a great position in this race. And this is the second time this season that Old School has done this on great strategy calls. He's not in position on track to be second, but with the penalties of the drivers in front and a brilliant strategy call, he is now within a shot of a really decent result in this race, which, if Old School wants to still fight for this championship, he really needs, because he is also further down in the championship. He's 9th at the moment in the standings, with only 1 podium to his name in Austria, with 15 points, and in the other 4 races this season, he's only scored 3 points, and that was last time out in Monaco when he finished 10th. So he really needs this performance to get himself up to the top of the championship. And the good thing here for him is that pretty much all of the championship protagonists are not having good races today.
No, they're not at this stage, and that's going to provide more unpredictability through this unpredictable season, not going to lie, with people having bad races. It may go down to It may go down to the final race in Abu Dhabi. There's still a long season to go. After this race, I think we'll have 10 more rounds. Yeah, 10 more rounds, 11 more rounds to go of this season. So you can't really afford to make any mistakes now. If you make mistakes now, then with how close it is, there's lots of people that are going to gain more, and you're going to have to be left alone just to fight for your own battles, and maybe fight for towards the back positions of this championship, even though there's a few people missing anyway as well. And going into Jeddah as well, it's an unknown track next week as well, so you want to be having a good result here, because otherwise you've got it all to do next week when we head to the end of the first half of the season, really, which is really quite tough for these guys. But you want to get a good result at a track because otherwise you're going to have to do a lot of practice with a track you don't know.
Yeah, like you say, we've got a lot of tracks coming up in the calendar that we haven't raced so far on this game in LOE. Like you say, Jeddah. Australia, one that drivers haven't driven a lot on this game, it seems like, as well. The Netherlands, we haven't raced that on this game so far. We didn't race it last season. Safety car is in this lap. Everybody is caught to the back of the queue. We will have 9 laps left in this race when we cross the line. It's Rex leading the way at this safety car restart. Like you said, he put himself in this great position with the strategy call. He's not under any immediate threat for Miami and Tope. He's got good pace as well out in clean air. So Rex here is sitting very comfortable in the lead of this race, even with this safety car restart. He's just got to make sure he doesn't make any mistakes from this point onwards. When does he decide to go for the restart? He's gone now, just before the Vale Club chicane. So a little bit different to when Tope went for his safety car restart at the very start. Rex gets going then out of club corner, round the final corner. It's a good restart from the Alpine man, not under any pressure from Miami behind. Is anybody under any immediate pressure? Darry is. Brent's looking down the inside of Abbey on the Williams. Oh, Darry's kind of moving across on the way into turn 1, and Brent had to back out of the move to avoid a collision there. Darry holds on to 7th, but Brent steaming around the outside of turn number 2 is going to have the inside. We've seen this already from Brent today. He's forceful with his overtakes in these conditions. Darry will have the inside line for the loop. He's forceful back to the AlphaTauri. They make more and more contact. That was always inevitably going to happen. Darry spins off the front of Brent. They were both very aggressive with one another. Neither one of them wanted to back out. Brent didn't back out of the outside of the loop, and Darry spun off the front of the AlphaTauri, and all of that good progress that Brent has made since the first lap has all been undone. And yet again, for the second week running, Darry caught up in another incident. Chills had a spin now at Luffield. It's all going on at the safety car restart a bit further down the field. Kamke, I think, may have a spun as well in the Red Bull.
Yeah.
But yet again, Brent, from a good position, is throwing points away.
Yeah, he is, which is a bit of a shame as well. Sometimes you got to take risks, but you don't want to take risks like that with how many laps to go of this race, because pretty much the top 12 in LOE, for those of you that don't know, score points. All we need is 2 people to retire and people to get points. Darry is just throwing points away right now, and Chill's gone for another spin again through I've turned 3. No, through Chapel. Yeah, it's hard to tell with the conditions as it is. What corner it is? At one minute it looks like Abbey, and the next minute it looks like Chapel. But 1:36.9 for Rex. We did say a few moments ago that he needs to nail his restart. He had a very good restart. He didn't let the likes of Miami and Tope get past as well, and he's still able to push fastest laps like no tomorrow. I mean, he's absolutely nailing it right out there as he was struggling a bit of traction going out of arena into the Wellington Straight. But I have to say, he's doing a lot better than expected right now in these in the safety car. Usually, people like him buckle under pressure. He's definitely not so far. I think he can handle this. I think he even put in the chat that he was a bit scared, I think, a bit sceptical. But to be fair, Rex, you're doing a good job out there, and he's going to hope it does not dry out, because he's in a good position to win this race. Everyone else around him, apart from Old School, of course, has a penalty. So the gap between him and Old School is around about a second or 2.
Yeah, he's got a good enough gap at the moment to the other drivers around him that don't have penalties. Like you say, Luke is still in a net 3rd place in this race, but with that truncated safety car restart, he has lost a bit of time to Miami. So Miami could still salvage a podium out of this race with that 3-second time penalty, because Luke, since he's put on these intermediate tyres, has not looked that confident. Passe is on the back of him, but Passe can't get close enough to make a move to the Aston. They're just not as fast as the top 4 at the moment, are the drivers in 5th and 6th. They're being caught by Rekurik ever so slightly, but Rekurik also has a time penalty in this race, so that's going to affect him. That's going to drop him behind Mats. Mats has passed RJ at the restart as well, so he's somewhat recovering in this race from that slow pit stop. Yet another fastest lap from Rex, a 36.6. So he is really going for that point, isn't he? As now it's a 36.2 from Rekurik to completely blow that fastest lap out of the water. But Rekurik at the moment needs all the points he can get down in 7th if he wants to take the lead of this championship. At the moment, I think he would miss out with the fastest lap, he would take the champ. Actually, I think him and RJ would be level on points as it stands if he gets the fastest lap. We'll wait and see when the checker flag drops, but it's very close between those drivers at the moment. Rex still leads. 7 laps to go when we cross the line. Got a yellow flag in sector 1. Brent's gone for another spin. Yeah. This has kind of been the story of Brent's season, hasn't it? He's had so much potential all season long. But with bizarre strategy calls and mistakes in the middle towards the end of races, he's thrown away, you've got to say, at least 3 or 4 podiums this season. And Brent, from a quali ban, could have been fighting for a top 6 finish in this race and has yet again blown another result.
Yeah, he's out of position in the championship as well. I was expecting him to be a lot higher. He's 6th at the moment. But there was a few races this season where he could have got a race victory and he would have been challenging the likes of Tope, Bukurik, RJ for the top positions of the championship, but he's not. So he's got a lot of work to do, does Brent, and he's going to hope that someone makes a mistake, which is highly unlikely. He's going to more than likely be scoring no points in this race, similar to what happened in France, and that's going to be a bit of a shame after a not so bad performance in Monaco. He getting 5th place, and he wanted to get a podium like he did in Austria, but that's not going to happen. But unfortunately, the quali ban has not helped him in either way because he's been involved in all sorts of carnage as well. But I'm starting to see Miami pick up the pace a little bit. I think we're starting to see everybody start to pick up the pace a little bit. Only RJ and RJ and Jacob have won races. We are starting to see maybe a different race winner here potentially between the likes of Rex and Miami. Has Miami won a race in LOE before?
I think he has. Season 5 springs to mind. Division 3, right. Season 5. I was racing him at the time, so yes, he definitely has won a race in this championship before, but he took a season out in Season 6. He's back this season, and as a replacement for J. Cole, he's done a good job so far this season. Miami still could, like we said earlier on, be on a potential podium here because Old School is losing pace. Luke is losing pace to these top 3 at the moment, so Miami could still salvage a podium position out of this race. Tope is unlikely to do so because his penalty is a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, so he'll drop a lot further back as it stands. So yeah, Miami could still salvage something from this race, and Miami's not that far down considering he missed the first 2 races because he was a reserve. He's only 10th in the championship at the moment, so this is a good race for him as well. This race is turning the championship on its head at the moment in these early phases because it's throwing new people into the ring for this championship battle at the moment. All of our top 3 in the championship are not having good races. Bukurik is 7th but with a time penalty, RJ's 9th but also with a time penalty, and Tope is 3rd but also with a time penalty, so they're all going to drop when the checkered flag drops at the moment. Bukurik is out onto the back of Passe trying to gain places, but you've got to say if he goes for these overtakes it's just going to slow him down and it's going to put Matt back into range. So really, if Bukurik wants to salvage 7th, he's just got to sit in 7th and hope that these guys can still pull away from Timmats.
Exactly, because Tim Matz as well, he's got no penalty, so he's going to gain a lot from this as well, but quite a few people have got 3 seconds, so I think Matz will need to get a move on. He's got to close in quite a lot to Bukurik as well to pretty much get rid of the damage that he has done for some races this season at least, but we'll see what happens. But Bukurik, he's trying to get rid of that damage right now as he's going to try and see if he could get past Passe into Brooklyn. He's just not a little bit too further back right now. We are starting to see a possession at the moment at this stage because A, it's wet, B, there's no DRS, and C, you can't overtake in positions like this due to the long straight and dirty air that you're going to be getting at the moment. So Bukurik, he has used a lot of VRS as well, same with Passe. I think everyone's around about the 40% range, 59% range right now, so they've got to manage their ERS effectively as well, and it can make the difference between whether you get on the podium or even a top 5 finish than getting, like, say, P10 or P11 at the moment. I think we're starting to see more penalties coming to fruition. For quite a few drivers are on their second warning, so one more warning and they get a time penalty. As Passe is looking quite good as well for some good positions as well, but I don't. A few people saying this, but they think it's going to dry up. I don't think it's going to dry up enough to go on to dry tyres. I definitely don't think. I think it's going to stay inters.
Yeah, it looks like that case. Unless it stops almost abruptly in the next couple of laps, I don't think it's going to go to slick tyres by the looks of things. So this could be how the conditions are to the end of this race. Rex still leads on track. Miami is trying to apply the pressure, maybe trying to force Rex to pick up a penalty so he can then start fighting the Alpine for the on-track lead of this race. Rex, though, is doing such a good job of leading this race and being fast. He's pulling Miami along, and if we just quickly switch to the leader gap here, Miami is only half a second away from gapping Old School enough to remain in second in this race. So Miami, if he can get a bit more pace out of this car in these next few laps, he could still salvage second in this race, let alone a third place finish. He's doing a brilliant job. In second place at the moment is the Aston Martin, despite that penalty. Old School's pushing hard to try and keep within that 3-second range of Miami at the moment, but it's getting very, very close to the window where he could drop out of range. Luke is right behind as well. Luke is now completely out of range of Miami, so Luke will not be on the podium as it stands. Passe will not be able to pass Miami either. He will get Tope, but he won't get Miami with this penalty. So yeah, it's the top two in this race. Rex and Miami have looked very good on these intermediate tyres. Tope as well has looked strong, but his time penalties just meant that he can't really do anything in this race. He's just kind of stuck where he is at the moment. So yeah, the top three have looked like the three fastest. You've got to say, even though Rex put himself here on a brilliant strategy, he's had the pace nonetheless.
Yes, indeed, and I have to say, one of his best performances so far, and he could be in the history books as well. Remember, there was awards night towards the end of the season. This will be the race that will be remembered for seasons to come in terms of performances in Division 3. He's pulled off a masterclass here as well, and I think people are wondering, why did I not go on that strategy that Rex did? I would have won this race, and people would have challenged Rex. I don't know. And I'm looking at the gap between Miami and Old School. It's quite tight between who's going to get the podium out of Miami and second place out of Miami and Old School. I don't know. They're going to get podiums regardless due to Tope's 5-second penalty, unless Tope could pull out a miracle between Tope and Old School, which will be quite difficult with how many laps to go of this race. But anyway, we'll find out very shortly. I have to say, I was not expecting Rex to stay in the lead for this long. I'm definitely not, and he's just been pretty much one of the best performances I've ever seen strategy-wise. Sometimes you got to have good pace, sometimes you got to have good strategy, and this race win has come down to strategy more than pace today. Even though he's pulled the pace to keep Miami and Tope behind, the win has come down to strategy.
Yeah, brilliant strategy from Rex, and I agree. I thought he may have fallen back in the wets in the start of the intercept, may have fallen back into the clutches of those that qualified at the front, but he has done well nonetheless. He was setting fastest lap after fastest lap earlier on. It was him and Rekurik trading blows for fastest lap. Brent now has the fastest lap, but he's on a fresh set of intermediates and out of the point, so he won't score the point for fastest lap. What it does do is take the fastest lap point off of anybody else, and the way it's going, I wouldn't bet against this championship being won by maybe 1 or 2 points. It is so close with so many drivers at the moment. Old School has lost a little bit of time on that lap. He's now about 2/10 safe to Miami. He is teetering on the edge of losing the second place. He will still be, like you say, on the podium, so it's still a podium result from where he was earlier in the race, but he is just about to lose possibly that second place. Passe almost losing 6th on the road to Rekurik, who looks so strong in the corners, but Passe seems to have a faster car in a straight line, so Rekurik can't really get anywhere near close enough to the back of the Ferrari to go for a move, and if he does go for a move, it's not really worth anything anyway, because Passe doesn't have a penalty, so he'll just take the place back on penalties. Mats is still within range of Rekurik as well to take that 7th place in this race, so Mats still right within range. RJ is in behind in 9th. RJ's not had the pace today. It's been a bit of a shame really from RJ, hasn't it? He had a great race in Imola. He struggled a little bit for luck. He had good pace in France, but had damage on the first lap. He had solid pace in Portimao, but wasn't near the fastest people. Had a bit of a horror show of a race in Austria. And then we thought he was back to his winning ways. He was back to his winning ways in Monaco, and we thought he was back to his usual ways of being at the front of the field. But here at Silverstone, RJ's been kind of invisible.
He has, which is a bit of a shame, to be honest, but I think at least he's still going to get some decent points, because the ones who have got more penalties probably won't get any points anyway, despite the fact that RJ's got 3 seconds. But sometimes you have bad luck, and I think that's what RJ's showing today as well. But you got to talk about the consistency for RJ. He either gets a race win or he gets a bad result. There's nothing in between for RJ. Even though he's leading the championship, he's going to lose a lead for this championship at the moment, because I think Tope is finishing so many positions ahead of him right now as well. Oh, Passe! That was a kind of like a rallycross style drift there, heading past from farm down into arena there, but he just about saved the car there as McCurrick has taken advantage of that and said thank you very much. McCurrick's up to 6th position, so but McCurrick's got the 5-second time penalty, whereas Passe does not, so Passe will be able to try and get P6 or a net P6 anyway. So there's hardly any rain now. There's hardly any rain, but obviously since we're on the final lap of the race, this is intermediate conditions. Most people have been on these tyres for about 15-16 laps. Rex and Old School have been on these tyres for 18 laps. And Rex is about to cross the line very soon, touch wood, to win his first ever LOE race. And what a week to do it.
Yeah, what a week to do it. What a race it has been. It's been anything but a simple race. We thought the wet race maybe be a little bit boring, maybe a bit of a procession, but it's been a game of strategy, and Rex has pulled a blinder on strategy today. When he pitted early for intermediates and no one else reacted to him, he took full advantage, and even with a late safety car restart, it can't stop him from winning this race. Rex then, around the final corner, will take his first win in the League of Europe. Rex wins the Silverstone race, the British Grand Prix. Old School Gears does get second by 0.3 of a second in the end. Miami will keep the podium by 0.3 ahead of his teammate Luke, but what could have been for Aston Martin today. Passe ends up 5th. Tope, with his 5-second penalty, drops down to 6th position. Mats gets 7th ahead of Wai. Wai beat his teammate to the line in the end, so Rekurik ends up down in 9th position with his penalty. RJ in 10th ahead of Dari after that contact with Brent at the safety car restart. Kamke will get the last points position in this race, 1 solitary point for the Red Bull driver. Rex, though, gets the win. The top 2 are the 2 people that pulled the blinder on strategy. That is not a coincidence. They did the best on strategy today. They get the best reward for it.
They read the weather, to be honest. They were looking at their Jeffs as well. They were keeping an eye on the conditions as well. They were seeing what was happening on the track. They were seeing there was less standing water, and to be honest, I said to it there was a no-brainer that Rex and Old School pitted, and I was definitely right there. And Old School got driver of the day, but to be honest, I had to give Old School and Rex driver of the day, both of them, because they pulled a good performance in terms of strategy, but Rex definitely deserved this race victory. Hopefully this won't be the last race victory we see him in LOE. Hopefully this will be the start of many race wins to come for the Alpine driver, and Old School was so close to race victory, didn't get it, but I'm sure he'll be happy with second. To be fair, after looking at it, what he said to me with his thoughts about the race, he was definitely not expecting a podium.
Yeah, brilliant result in the end for Old School. Like I say, Rex then, his first win in LOE. Hopefully this is a moment of the season for Rex and not a best one-off performance of the season in the awards later in the season. That will be great to see if Rex can be up there for the rest of the season. But the Alpine driver is the first driver, other than RJ and J. Cole, to win a race this season. He gets it for Alpine. Old School with his second podium of the season. Both of those drivers pulling off a great strategy today. Miami gets the final spot on the podium. Luke in 4th ahead of Passe in 5th. Tope 6th. Mats, Waichawai, Rekurik, RJ, Dari and Kamke round off the points. Chill and Brent did finish the race. Brent with the fastest lap, but he will not get the point for the fastest lap. He is out of the points. Maverick, Bunty, Marty and J. Luke, your 4 retirees from what was maybe not the most eventful race, but a very interesting race in the end. And we were maybe expecting a bit of a procession. It wasn't a procession. It was a game of strategy, and they played an absolute blinder.
Yeah, exactly, and they're going to need it, especially heading into Jeddah next week with the likes of some people not liking Jeddah, so it will be interesting. So we are going to try and invite the top 3 into interviews, so hopefully they've made themselves available to us, fingers crossed. But yeah, let's hope that they put Britain behind it for some of these people. A lot of people were out of position and will need an absolute miracle in Jeddah next week to actually climb their way up the championship. Brent and Dari especially. I think Brent and Dari could have been the drivers to have done a lot better. And because of that, the likes of Luke, Old School and Passe have benefited, and they're going to climb up as a result of that. I'll try and see if I can get the top 3 in for interview now.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult to work out who's actually going to be leading this championship by the end of this one, because I don't think anybody wanted to by the end of that one. I think RJ will still lead the championship going into round number 7 at Jeddah. However, his championship lead will be the 1 point or no points, and there will be two or three other drivers now right in the mix for the championship. So it's maybe we've still got the same leaders, but it's all tightening up at the very top of the sheet. Of course, remember Luke with a fourth place finish and his third fourth place finish of the season. This man ever finishing in fourth, isn't Luke? It's just such a shame he can't really seem to get on the podium on a consistent basis. His only podium at the moment so far was at Portimao this season. But yeah, another consistent result from Luke, you've got to say, in this race. He's putting himself possibly up there in the championship. It's just a shame that seemingly Luke doesn't seem to have that maybe extra 1% to get him onto the podium and get himself those race wins.
He was almost there, wasn't he? He was almost there. If we pulled up the same strategy as the likes of Old School, the likes of Rex, he would have been up there challenging for the win. But unfortunately, since he pitted the same time as everybody else, that's why he missed out on the podium, and the penalties didn't help either. So a bit of a shame now. Can't seem to find Tope on PSN, unfortunately, but I'll try and get the other two in. I'm going as fast as I can here.
Yeah, I think it's Miami actually we need to get in, isn't it? It's Miami we need to
get in. Oh
yeah,
it's Miami,
yeah. So if we can find Miami to get into
I'm brain fog.
Yeah, the sore throat it's travelling up into the head now, unfortunately. But yeah, so yeah, hopefully we can get the top three into this race. But yeah, looking for the rest of the season. Obviously, next race is going to be Jeddah. We've already mentioned it that Jeddah's somewhere that these drivers have maybe not driven before. Jeddah, that's going to be a race of survival, isn't it? Penalty survival, keeping it out of the wall is a very difficult track to master.
Yeah, I have to say, if they're not good at Jeddah already, they need to put some practice in, because we'll be able to tell next week. Well, you'll be able to tell next week because I won't be here. People will be able to tell who has put in the practice and who hasn't. So you can tell people make mistakes, and we've seen what happened in Monaco. Let's hope we do not have a repeat to what happened in Monaco. Let's hope that they keep it clean as well, and if people are not confident about this track, maybe just playing it safe may be the best option, getting out of the carnage, and that will reward them in the long run and get the best results.
Yeah, hopefully they get the best results, like you say, that from Jeddah. That's going to be very interesting. We are very, very close now to the midway point in this championship. We are not far away, and it's great to see that our first of the podium sitters has joined the party, IRT Rex. Before we start, Rex, can you just double check and make sure that your voice is streaming in party so that we can all hear you on stream?
Yep.
Brilliant stuff. Well, Rex, welcome to the podium interview booth for the first time this season. That race from you, it was a fairly solid start, getting up into fourth in the early phases, but that race for you was all about that strategy call. Talk us through that strategy call.
It was just really... I had the stream going on in the background, I normally do, and I was just looking at my tire temperatures, and that's really what gave it away. So I figured, well, I really have nothing to lose, just only gain, so I went on the inters, and obviously it worked out.
Yeah, obviously paid off for you in the end. I guess obviously you came in, I think it was like fourth in the intermediate tyres that you came into the pit lane. Were you surprised that people didn't react to that quickly enough? Obviously, Old School was the other driver to come into the pits on the same lap as you, but nobody came in on the lap afterwards. Were you surprised by that?
I was honestly surprised that they didn't come in after I did the fastest lap. They were staying out for I think one or two people came in, and then the rest of them came in after a lap after that. I was kind of surprised on how long it took them to realize, but I don't mind it.
Me and Aiden were shocked, Rex, as much as you were. So.
Yeah, completely shocked by that one. And then, of course, end of the race, we did have that late safety car, but of course the good thing for you was that it's wet conditions. We know it's difficult to overtake in the wet, and Miami and Tope directly behind you on the track both had penalties to your name. So was the end of that race more about just making sure you didn't make any mistakes?
Yeah, I had 2 warnings, probably I think I got both of them on the same lap, like lap 10. So it was, after that safety car restart, it was really trying to push, but not do it to the limit of me getting another warning, I should say, to get a penalty. But honestly, I was just pushing. I knew I didn't have the most amount of pace, but in the end, it worked out.
Yeah, it worked out brilliantly for you in the end. Jess, have you got anything you'd like to ask?
Yes, going into Jeddah next week, a lot of people tend to struggle with a track they don't know before. A, have you driven Jeddah on this game? And B, what are you going to do to try and replicate your brilliant performance going into Jeddah next week?
I have done a couple of laps on Jeddah, but that is with my wheel. So
Ah.
I have not yet done any laps in the recent times. That was when the track first came out. So I've only done like one race there, but that was with F2 cars, so a little bit different.
Looking forward to seeing what you can do next week then.
Thank you.
Brilliant stuff. Yeah, congratulations on your first win of the season, Rex, and yeah, congratulations once again. So hopefully we'll maybe see you in the podium booth this time next week. We'll move on to our second place finisher then, and it is Old School, second podium of the season, Mark. And coming in circumstances you maybe weren't expecting. We just had a chat with Rex about strategy call. Talk us through how that came into your head as well, how you decided to make that strategy call so early on.
Big shout out to Killer Blue 195 because he did something very similar last season in D2 in a different game. So I just got overheating. Obviously, I'm on pad, but I thought, okay, let's give it a go. I'm stuck in this train. I was running 911 wings as well, so I was running a full wet setup, and I knew. I can't believe some of the times people were pulling in quali. I was like, they must be on dry setups because I know I can do like a 2.2 or 0.3. It's one of my better tracks. So, but I stuck with the game plan a bit. But yeah, it all just kind of fell together a little bit, really. I think the safety car helped me because I think Miami would have got away from me, and maybe even Rex. No, not Rex. Taupe. Sorry, Taupe. Would have got away. But yeah, no, it's good. It's great. It's small points on the board for me. I think I might have messed up too much too early this season, but a lot of the wheel tracks are out of the way now. So there's some very beautiful pad tracks coming up. So who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, I'm looking at round 8 specifically. That's going to be one definitely you're looking forward to. I know that much. Of course, we'll talk a little bit about Championship. Actually, obviously, it's been a little bit of an up and down season so far for you. Second podium of the season. The good thing, at least for you, is your Championship leading teammate didn't have the best of races, and really none of the Championship leaders had a good race today. So you're closing in on the Championship lead. It's still very, very close at the front of the field. So I guess, what is your strategy going forwards in terms of trying to get in this championship fight?
Well, it was very awkward because I was in a party with Luke, HD, and RJ, and the problem I had is that they're two of the people that I think are going to be right at the end of it. And they said, the Inters. I was like, they're okay. And I can see my times going green and green and green, and I'm like, I don't want to tell you. This is really quite awful. But and the funny thing is, all three of us are, I think we're always normally at least two of us are around each other, and Luke was pushing me like hell through that. So yeah, I don't know. It's just I can't DNF. I can't go up to Scotland on a Saturday for a while. I don't know. I don't know. To be honest with you, if we can get the constructors, that's awesome because Luke and Miami are pretty fearsome. So I think that'll be a good battle.
Yeah, that's definitely looking like it's going to be a good battle. Jess, anything you'd like to ask?
Well, like I said to Rex, we head to Jeddah next week. How are you feeling about that?
Oh God, honestly, the only reason why I do well at the half of these tracks is because I've driven them for 20 years. Like I don't even know I couldn't even drive you around it. It's going to be awful. I need to do a lot of practice, but no, thank you guys. Thank you for commentating. So, always get positive feedback from my behalf on you guys, who's now occasionally in the chat. So yeah, thank you ever so much, and yeah, I hope your voice is better, Jess. Hope you.
I hope so.
Hope you both have a good race.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much for that one, Mark. And yeah, congratulations on your second podium of the season. We'll move quickly along to our third place finisher in this race. Miami, your first podium of the season, only your second race as a full-time driver. Brilliant pace from you in the end, but unfortunately just that late pit stop for the intermediate tyres didn't work out in your favour. Talk us through that race from your perspective.
Oh, well, first of all, I was surprised that I was even up there, to be honest. I haven't really Well, I did it a few seasons ago, and it was very close. But seeing the pace of the guys in the previous races, I thought I wouldn't be there at all. But I mean, it was about all I could do in quali, to be fair. But I mean, at the start of the race, I was just happy to follow because we got a bit close into the first corner. Not gonna lie, didn't see Luke go around the outside, so we touched. But I'm really happy we didn't spin or anything. But I was just happy to follow the leaders and see what they would do. But in regards to the switching to the inters, I had Jake in my ear saying my tyres are probably high. We decided to give it another lap, and I'd seen that Old School and Rex had come in earlier. So it was in the back of my mind, and when I pitted, I was going to do the opposite to whatever they did in front of me. So they didn't pit, so I just decided to pit and go for it, really.
Yeah, decided to go for it. And it worked out in your favour in the end. You still got a podium out of it. Of course, the penalty not quite playing into your favour. We saw you pushing the back of Rex towards the end of the race quite a bit. Was that trying to force Rex into a mistake, or were you just trying to get as far away from Mark as possible?
It was a bit of both, to be honest. I mean, if I could get close enough and try and sort of make Rex a bit more nervous, then that was great, and then maybe capitalise on something. But and unfortunately, that didn't happen. But you know, I had to think about the penalty, and I think I had the gap going into the last corner, and I outbraked myself slightly too much, nearly hit Rex, and I lost like a couple of attempts. But it's the way it goes sometimes. But still good, I got a podium, which is cool.
Yeah, still a podium, like you say, which is cool. Of course, you're still, obviously, there's still a long way to go in this championship. Still plenty can happen. We've still got 11 races left, so you're still right in the thick of that championship battle. Jess, anything you'd like to ask?
Well, we head to Jeddah next week, a track where most people do not like and don't like the sound of it as well. What do you think of it?
Well, to be honest, I haven't even driven it yet, so it's going to be an interesting one. So I might have to do a few laps if I can in the week just to familiarise myself. But I mean, we'll see what we can do. I mean, everyone's so close in this division, so it's really good to see. So I think I'll just go in there with reasonable top 10 maybe expectations, and let's see what happens, really.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. And yeah, congratulations on your first podium of the season. Thank you for joining us in the party for the end of this stream as well. Looks like Jeddah's going to be a pretty interesting one. It seems at the moment nobody that we've spoken to seems to like Jeddah, so I don't think anybody's going to want to win Jeddah. It seemed like nobody wants to lead the championship after this race, and no one wants to win the next race. So this is going to be a pretty interesting middle point of the season, you've got to say. Jess, anything you'd like to add before we round off the stream tonight?
Well, I have to say, even though it didn't have that many battles, the strategy Kings won the game, and it was Rex and Old School as well, and Miami did a brilliant job with the strategy as well. Pretty much the top three played the strategy right today, and that's why they deserve the podium.
Yeah, brilliant stuff from all three of them. And yeah, that's where we're going to round off the Division 3 stream today, guys. Thank you so much to everybody for tuning in. You can tune into Divisions 2 and 5 in about 5 to 10 minutes time for their races at Great Britain. And you can go back and watch Divisions 1 and 4. They took place while Division 3 was going on. Me and Jess, well, actually, no, Jess, you've got the week off next week, so you won't be in the commentary booth this time next week. I will be back alongside someone. We'll wait and see, but we'll be back at 6:30 this time next Saturday. But thank you again to everybody for joining us. Thank you to Jess for joining me today, and we will see you next week. Take care and goodbye.